Cześć, nazywam się Rafał. Dzisiaj mam dla Ciebie coś innego niż zwykle. Podczas mojego wyjazdu do Kanady przeprowadziłem rozmowę z Morganem, który jest aktywnym kulturystą, współwłaścicielem siłowni Maxx Out Muscle, którą odwiedzały największe gwiazdy kulturystyki, takie jak Jay Cutler, Chris Bumstead czy aktualny Mr. Olympia Derek Lansford. Morgan jest również trenerem z wieloletnim doświadczeniem ukierunkowanym na rozbudowę masy mięśniowej. Dowiesz się między innymi, jakie błędy popełniał po drodze i co by zrobił inaczej, gdyby mógł się cofnąć do swoich początków. Porozmawiamy też o tym, czy genetyka to jest granica, której nie da się przeskoczyć ciężką pracą i co robić, kiedy ćwiczysz od miesięcy, a twoja sylwetka się nie zmienia. Poznasz też od kuchni, jak wyglądają przygotowania u osoby, która siedzi w kulturystyce od ponad dekady, prowadzi siłownię, własnych podopiecznych, a jednocześnie zajmuje się swoją rodziną. Całość ma sporo wątków, więc pod filmem na pasku znajdziesz rozdziały. I jeśli interesuje Cię tylko konkretny temat, to śmiało przeskocz w to miejsce. Włożyliśmy razem z Kasią w ten materiał dużo pracy, więc jeśli wyciągniesz z tego materiału chociaż jedną wartościową rzecz, zostaw łapkę w górę. Dla Ciebie to jest sekunda, a dla mnie ogromna wartość.
I think not focusing on my diet's enough.
How about the waist? Are you doing something for the waist to keep it tight? How far should someone actually chase this isolation? Do you think really we can like overtrain?
Unfortunately, genetics is king.
Hello. We are here in Canada, Saskatchewan, Maxx Out Muscle with Morgan. He's a owner, one of the owners.
One of the owners.
One
yeah,
of the owners
yeah.
of Maxx
Own it
Out
with
Muscle.
my wife, Melissa.
Yeah, Mel. Also, we're gonna talk about that. I was working out in this gym for a whole month right now. I'm 10 weeks out. Morgan is 6 weeks
Yeah,
out.
just under 6 weeks now.
Under
yeah.
6, yeah. So we are in this shit together.
Yeah, the faces are getting slimmer,
Yeah.
you know.
Okay, so Morgan is preparing right now. He's a bodybuilder. And the first question I would like to talk about is, for you as a bodybuilder, what's the difference between training to have, you know, just like a normal athletic look to have that maximize physique gains, like to build the whole complete bodybuilder physique?
Yeah. For me, I always say there's two different things in the gym. You know, there's people who come and they work out,
Yeah.
and there's people who come and they train.
Okay.
Right? You know, so people who come in and train, it's very like precise and very calculated. It's a next level of intensity. You know, it's really making sure you're pushing your sets to maximal effort and intensity. You know, not leaving any reps on the table. Just treating every workout like it's do or die, essentially. You know, so
Because Morgan is really fan of Dorian Yates.
yeah, I'm a big Dorian
Yeah.
Yates fan. I grew up, you know, when bodybuilding was essentially just bodybuilding. There was no other classes. Like there wasn't classic, there wasn't men's physique. It was, you know, open bodybuilding. Women's bodybuilding was around, and then like women's figure had become about as well. So it was very like bodybuilding eccentric. If you wanted to get on stage, you were going to compete as a bodybuilder.
There was no classic.
There was
because
no classic at
classic
that
is right
point.
now for, I don't know, 10 maybe?
Yeah, about that. I think when did it kind of come about in 2016 was
2016,
around
yeah.
then. So we're kind of in that 10-year threshold now. And it had come about like as I was competing.
Yeah.
But like when I fell in love with bodybuilding, it was bodybuilding. you
Yeah.
know? So it was like the guys that I grew up, I kind of caught like the tail end of the 90s, but it was more like early 2000s, you know, like
Oh.
the Ronnie era, the Jay era, like Branch,
Yeah.
Dexter, you know, Victor Martinez, like those kind of guys, right? And then it steamrolled into Phil and Phil's reign. So those were kind of like the guys who were, you know,
Like the
leading
stars,
the
the
way.
biggest,
yeah. And
yeah.
so like those were massive, like freak physiques, right? You know?
That's why you wanted to be one of.
Yeah,
Because
and
right
so it was
now,
always
like,
appealing to me, right? Like I grew up on like Arnold Schwarzenegger movies and
Oh, okay.
you know, things like that, right? So, but yeah, to wheel back, I guess it's just, you know, training with like really high intensity and just trying to get the most out of your workouts that you possibly can. Trying to pick, you know, exercises that are big bang for your buck kind of exercises and you know, not wasting time on things that just don't really give you that massive kind of return when it comes to hypertrophy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because like on the people that are training often like just swipe some TikTok or something on the training, like it's not working here. Like to achieve the physique, first of all, you have to do it like for many 10, 15 years.
Monotonous consistency over an
All the
extended
time,
period
yeah.
of time, right?
There is no place for scrolling some TikTok on you have to really focus and like many times when I started to going on that more bodybuilder side, I was like, you have to really think about sometimes not to die and think about your family and everything just to push it.
I spent a long period kind of in those dark places. You know, I found as I've gotten older and my physique has progressed and I've, you know, kind of acquired more just sweat equity in training, I can turn it off and on easier now.
Okay.
But when I was like, you know, in my early mid 20s and I was
Like me.
really etching to like build my physique, which I still am to this day, but I was really
you can
aggro
control
when
it.
I trained and I came in, I paced around, I had my hat really low and, you know, like it was
Me,
very
right?
serious. Like, don't talk to me. I'm here to, like, I'm on a mission, you know? And I remember some of the older guys would pull me aside and be like, you seem like you're like on a mission here. And I'm like, because I am. It's like you had something to prove, you know? Whereas now I've realized, like, I still think that's very crucial and a lot of people still need that. But, like, it's almost like an energy waste at times, too, where you're so worked up and you're so hyper fixated that it's like, I'm kind of spending all this energy outside of my sets as well in my sets. So now I come in and I'm still in my sets. I'm very laser focused, and obviously as you get deeper into prep, you have less energy to, you know, so you want to just be in your zone and kind of do your thing and get through your workout before the calories expend out of your body.
You said, you also like lose your energy while you are preparing. So how do you on and off it? Because I have like I sometimes prepare before, of course, day before some even. Also, when I'm going to the gym, I love the Nicar Division motivation movies. So how do you on and off it?
Man, now I guess just I know what I have to do. I know kind of where I need to be within my set. So I'm very focused the entire time. Like it's still my time, you know?
Yes.
When I'm training, I like to think of that as my time. I'm not Morgan, the business owner who owns the gym or the coach or the trainer.
Do it on the side. You can off it.
Still very much like my 100% focus. I'm not so like in that dark place all the time.
Okay,
you know, where you're just like thinking about, you know, someone putting a gun to your mother's head or, you know, this bully that did you wrong on the school playground.
Yes,
kind of thing
I'm doing it right
the
now.
odd day, maybe it's like that. But for the most part, I'm more just like trying to be really positive and like relevant in the moment that like, hey, I get to do this and this is like a really like cool privilege that I get to be able to come in here and do this on a daily basis and chase this goal and this dream and get to be a bodybuilder for this time period, because at some point it's all not going to be possible, right? You know,
of course.
Age catches up with us all and life transitions happen. So I guess I just really enjoy it, so it doesn't seem so dark anymore. You know, you might have the odd day where you like you draw on that because you need that motivation, but I guess I've found more positive places to draw it from now where I don't carry, because like I would find when I would be doing that, like I would carry that dark cloud for like hours after my training, right? And it's just like, it's a very gray area to be in, especially the deeper you get into prep, you know what I mean? So I guess I've just found that light switch.
Like there is a difference, like you said, the dark place and the place where you can enjoy it. And there is like, you could say there is a Ronnie style and the other style, the people that are more into this dark place. I think Ronnie wasn't on it, but okay, let's head to your mistakes.
My mistakes.
I would like to ask you, looking back with your knowledge, right now, as a coach, as a bodybuilder, because you are competing right now 5 years in a row.
5 years in a row, yeah. I've competed.
Your first.
I competed in my first would have been, I believe it was 2016, and then I took about 5 years away from the stage to build and try to move up a
5
weight
years
class.
without.
Yeah, 5 years without competing. I was just
Okay.
in a super long off season.
Okay.
Obviously,
Really,
I
5
had
years.
planned to compete before that. I had planned to compete in 2018, and then we had a league shift happen in Canada. I wasn't quite sure which federation to compete with, so I sat out for another year. And then I had planned to compete in 2019 at the tail end of the
For the
season.
3 years.
And then
Okay.
obviously the word that we're not supposed to say on YouTube came about. And so that kind of put things on hiatus. And I'm like, well, I'm not going to bother prepping for a show that might not happen. So I'm going to wait until things get completely back online. And that was 2022 for me.
2022.
So then
Okay.
2022, since now I've been competing every year.
Okay,
Yeah.
so 5 years and also like a big knowledge about coaching. So what would you tell to your younger self?
My younger self,
As-
probably like even before, because like I've always been into training. Like I was a football player, so I trained for football, and then I got out of football and I needed somewhere to put my competitive edge. So I started training for bodybuilding. I think not focusing on my diet enough would have been a big one.
Okay.
And then after competing, I think it probably, if I could go back and kind of rewrite some of the 5 years of that off season that I did, I think one of the things I would do would have been did more mini cuts and kept a
Okay.
little bit leaner.
Leaner.
I had some periods in there where I was like in a really good spot, and then I had some periods where I chased the scale a little too hard.
Just for
And
the weight.
just
Okay.
put on too much weight that just wasn't needed, essentially. Like I think the first year that I came back in 2022, when I dieted down, I think I had to pull off close to 70 pounds of weight.
70
and that
pounds
made that
for this
prep
5 years you
from
book.
well, I was in a really good spot, and then I kind of just pushed the scale super hard
What
towards
was
the
your
tail end.
weight when you were on the first competition?
So
you remember
on
it?
my very first competition,
216.
my 2016, my
2016,
first show I did 2 years that show. I was 187 pounds for the first show.
100,
and
one more
then
time, 100.
187 pounds.
87 pounds, so it's gonna be like 85 kilograms, something
around
like
there,
around there.
And
yeah.
then I
We have
competed
to.
again 3 weeks after that at our provincial level show, and I was 183 pounds. So I came down
183.
another about 4 pounds
4
roughly
pounds.
for that one.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
And
yeah.
then when I competed in 2022 after the 5 years off, I dieted extremely hard, and I was close. Like I probably could have been at the low end of the heavyweights, but we cut me down into the light heavyweights.
Oh,
And I
okay.
made weight just under 198. I was like 197
Okay.
kind of thing. And I was, probably maybe a little lighter than I should have been, but I was very conditioned. And
Yeah,
when I
very
started
cut-
that prep, my whole mindset was like, I want to be like Dorian Yates, like grainy, peeled to the bone.
Yeah.
Like
Everything
peeled
you
at
could
all means necessary
yes.
kind of thing, right?
Okay.
So, and then from 2022 into the 2023 year, I think I was 211 the next year. when I
211.
competed. So
Okay.
I went
yeah.
from like the
Oh, so it
197,
was 20
197
pounds, even more.
to 211.
Something like
In
20
that, somewhere
pounds.
in that like 13 to 15
In how
pound
it
range.
was 187 after 5 years.
Yeah.
And then you moved to 211
211.
in
yeah.
how many type?
So the first show would have been, the 187. And my second, after the 5 years, I was like 197. So about 10 pounds there.
Okay, 10 pounds.
And then from 197, I was about 211. And
211.
then every year I've kind of went up, 211 to 213, 213 to 215, 216.
Stage.
And then last year I was
Yeah.
218.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how about, so you said the dieting, you would like push more on the diet to keep it going.
Probably too much Wendy's, too many fast food
I couldn't
stops.
try it here because I'm dieting.
Yeah.
My loss.
You'll have to come back sometime in off
Yeah,
season.
on the
We can go
off-season.
do an eating challenge or
Of
something.
course.
Yeah. So I would probably say just focusing more on scale weight than the look in the mirror.
Okay, also too much on the scale.
Yeah, on the scale, I would believe. Yeah, I mean, training wise, I think I did really good. I was training very like HIIT style, and I think my training was very proficient. Training for me has just been evolutionary through all the years. Like you just continue to get better at hard training, right?
So would you change something in your training? Like
No, I don't think I would change the training. I think the training for me
it was always
where it
hard
needed to be,
intensity
always hard
because
intensity,
okay, yeah.
and then it's built and progressed and become more precise over the years. But I think, I think you have to start and continue to build upon that. I
Yes.
don't think you can just become an advanced level trainer, from the get-go. Like you have to learn and get better and learn what works for you. And my training is still the same, progressive overload fundamentals that it was at that time period, but it has changed and evolved since then.
Okay.
And I have learned, what works a little better for this body part or that body part, etc. But I would say, yeah, I think just not focusing on overall scale weight would probably be the one thing that I would go back
Right
and change.
now,
And that would really
yeah.
be the only thing, to be honest. Yeah.
Because like also the volume, it's really interesting because people think that you have to like put a volume every year, but in the meantime we do less volume because
Yeah.
you can like move this weight
Yeah.
just with your chest.
I
like
think my volume has decreased over the years. to be
Yeah,
honest,
decreased, of
because your
course.
training just becomes much more proficient, and you're lifting heavier loads. So you don't need quite the same, extra amounts of volume essentially. So
So what do you think? Like, you think that something could speed up your gains if you're done something differently in that 5 years period of time, or there was nothing you could do to speed up?
I think maybe staying, like I said, a little bit leaner maybe would have kept my body a little bit more sensitive.
Oh, so if
in-
you could be leaner, you could have like
Maybe
better
built a
for
little
your-
bit
yeah.
better. I think it would be just easier on your body, and I think I'm not one of those people who preaches that you need to stay in stage condition all year, and I think that you definitely have to, put the fork to the plate and eat and move the scale somewhat to
Somehow,
grow muscle
yeah, of
tissue.
course.
Like I don't think you're gonna main gain and grow maximum amounts of tissue in like a deficit or close to one. But I think I just got a little carried away with being focused on the scale essentially, and being a little bit leaner would have been more advantageous for me.
So how would you say what is the best condition to build? Like the best condition is on a high fat level of your body. It's low fat. You said don't be too much close to the deficit.
Yeah,
you need to be more
think
like
in that like 10 to 15% body fat range is good
Okay.
for me,
the best for you
Yeah,
because
I think
everyone
that's
is
the best for me. Essentially, somewhere in that range kind of works really well for me. So, I think that would have been probably where I would have sat. And I think I still would have pushed the scale. I just think I would have did more periods of like pulling back, push and pull, essentially,
Mini
as opposed
cuts.
to just push.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, of course.
Yeah.
How about the consistency? Because you are doing it for 5 years. There, right now, the whole 5 years of competing every year. So, what actually keep you like disciplined for year after year? For I think the dieting is the hardest to keep on going.
Yeah.
Because training is like 2-3
fun.
hours a day.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's fun,
But how
right?
about dieting? You have family. You have your own business,
Yeah.
and it's
I think it really just depends on your goals, right? If you
Okay.
have particular goals, you have to be able to adhere to what needs to be done to achieve those goals, right? And I think a lot of people now are doing something because it's popular, whereas like
okay.
I generally bodybuild because I love to do it. So it doesn't feel like it's
Like hard
it's-
work
Yeah, I
of-
mean, like there's obviously days that are testing on a diet,
Mm-hmm.
and that, it would be nice to go and have burgers and fries with your family, but like I also know that those foods are always going to be there.
Yes.
And in the
It's
same,
gonna wait.
I'm choosing to do this, right? So I'm making the choice to do this,
do.
and it's something that I want to do and I look forward to doing. I like the being able to have the mental mastery of being in control and being able to stick and adhere to a diet. And it's definitely not for everybody, right? Like there are people who it's too much for them. But
Like we said, it's the athletic look or
yeah,
maximizing
yeah,
it.
for
It's really
sure.
nice. In my opinion, it's constant battle with your own head.
Yes.
And this is really, really nice because when you are like fighting in the football, maybe,
Yeah.
or in any other sport, you have a rival that is like his battle on you, but here you are fighting with yourself.
Yes.
It's your
It's-
mind. It's really cool. It's really
it's cool to be able to be in control.
Yes.
You know,
Oh,
there's that
I-
quote that Dorian said where he's like, you know, your body is telling you to eat, it's starving. And he says, and I just tell my brain to shut up. I'll tell you when you're going to eat, you know. He's like,
fuck
that
you
is-
motivation.
Yeah, right. So
Yes.
for me, it's just, I guess, I want to look this way and I know what it takes. And I'm trying to achieve a pro level physique. So I know that to do
You have
that,
to
you
do it.
have to act like a professional, and that's part of it, right? So if that's what you truly want, then your actions will reflect that, right? So
Do you have any magic technique to don't fall off track? I would say about the dieting. Let's say about dieting.
for me, I think honestly, I really enjoy the way I prepare and make my food. Like I make sure
It's
that
really
my food is palatable. I put effort into it, you know what I mean? Like it's not just like boiled bland chicken, and like I make it colorful, I make it flavorful. So I look forward to eating my food. I honestly eat on this diet basically all year round. The only thing
Oh.
that changes from off season to on season is
the
just
amount
the
of
amounts, basically.
yes.
Like I've eaten the same diet almost identically with the odd change here and there for the last 5 years because it works for me and I enjoy it. You know,
don't
maybe
have
in the off
digestion
season I'll
problems or
sub out
anything.
some like ground turkey for chicken or whatever it might be, but for the most part, I've found a diet that works really well with me and the foods that digest and that I enjoy. And
Why
I,
should you
I look
change
forward
it?
to
Like,
it. Yeah. So
every time.
that's kind of been the hack. And then, you know, finding little things that you can flavor your food with that aren't going to add
On the off
useless
season, you can
calories.
use
And, yeah,
some
and
sauce, and
I'm
it's
also
really
like
nice
in
to-
the off season, I'm not a guy who's going to show up to Christmas with a Tupperware. Like I take
Okay.
advantage of the family moments, but I'm also not going out to McDonald's 3 times a week kind of thing,
Yeah.
right? So I really do enjoy my food and I get my food quite high in the off season, so I don't really have
You can eat like some McDonald's, of course, because you're really on a high calorie
Yeah.
intake.
Yeah,
So
I'm
it's
already eating so much food
one-
that it's like
yeah,
I'm
one burger will not really
Yeah.
push it.
and I'm satisfied from the food that I'm eating, so I'm not like sitting there scratching my eyes out going, I need pizza today, you know?
I have this on Christmas. I would say
Yeah.
like if I'm not dieting, I'm like it's like food targets.
Well, on Christmas, like I'll eat 4 plates of food, you know, like I'll assert my dominance at the dinner table and let everyone know in the family, like who squats 4 plates here, you know? And like we go on family vacations, and when we go on family vacations,
You don't
know,
dieting.
I diet, like I bring my meals. Like if we go to an
Okay.
amusement park, I'll pack up 4 or 5 meals with me for the day and I'll bring them with me.
Oh.
But like if I want to eat at a fast food restaurant, like I like Chick-fil-A in the States. So like I'll sub out one of my meals for Chick-fil-A, and you know, almost every night I'll eat like a half to a pint of Ben and Jerry's before bed. And I kind of use those trips as like my blow off valve to release a little bit and enjoy some food. Over the last couple of years, I've like really started to enjoy American chocolate bars. So we go to the States, I'll pick up a bunch of different chocolate
Yes.
bars that we can't get here, and I'll eat one of those a day. And
Just for a taste.
I'll go to, like, you know, if the family wants to go to a restaurant, I'll go eat at the restaurant and have a big steak dinner or pasta or whatever it is. But when I'm here, I'm pretty locked into my diet. So
When you are prepping,
I'm
you
not
are
like
locked.
I'm not like on a family vacation, like will not eat out, you know, like if my kid wants to have some chips, I'll eat some chips with them.
Also.
I still bring all my meals with me because like I have to eat 6 to 7
Yes.
times a day, and I can't rely on eating at a gas station or a fast food
You
restaurant,
have to
right? So
think about it all the time to have food in your
and
in your
I
storage.
you know, I'll be hungry, right? Like
No.
I also don't feel good if I eat like that all the time. Like my body's very used to eating clean. So for me, I like to have my base amount of clean food, and then I'll allot for like a meal out kind of thing. You know,
Okay.
maybe an ice cream here or something like that. So
Let's say someone's been training for 1.5 years right now, and for the half of this time he had really good progress. He saw some changes, of course. It was really the weight go up, but the second half, like he don't really see anything changing. He tried to change volume. He trained really intense. He changed like he tried every exercise he could, and like there's nothing changing. Let's say, what are three basic things you'd check first, that ones that would get like 90% of people in that situation progressing again? Three fundamentals
Three fundamentals.
to check.
If it was me and I had a
Yes.
client like that, I would probably dig in. First, I would want to see them train. I'd want
Okay.
to make sure that their training
check it,
is
but it's-
actually precise and proficient, and that they are actually, using the intended muscles that they're trying to train. Training intensity. Are they actually, taking their sets till failure, or do they think they're taking their sets till
You
failure?
have to somehow like count it.
It's kind of like that thing
Check
where
it.
everybody thinks they train hard till they go train with someone who really trains.
Okay.
And then
So that's a tip. Go train with someone that's already
happened
advanced.
to me, like when I trained really hard, and then I went and trained with my coach Ron, and
yes.
we had some workouts, and I'm like, okay, like I can step it up a level. So for actually years after that, I used to envision when I would be in the gym, because we live in different provinces. So I would kind of envision like he's beside me on the hack squat right now, right?
Okay.
Even though he's not there, like
Okay.
I'm training like I trained when I was with him.
So you can remember how it was,
Yes.
and you could like take this image
Yeah.
and
reenact it essentially, right?
Okay.
To just make sure that I am putting everything into these sets that I need to be, and making sure that I'm getting the most out of my training. And then I would probably look at somebody's diet and make sure
Okay.
that their diet is proficient.
how would you
And
check it, the diet?
I would just make sure, that like their calories are where they need to be. Like, are they eating enough protein? Are they getting enough carbohydrates? Is their fat source?
If they also
where it
count
should
it
be?
somehow.
Yeah. And then
So the training, diet
and then
check.
probably on top of that, I would say, what's their rest and recovery like?
Okay.
Are they training 6 days a week? Maybe they need to be training less, right? Like,
Do you think really we can like overtrain?
I think for the majority of people, no.
No,
Because I
okay.
don't think the majority of people train hard
Train
enough to
hard.
overtrain.
They think they train, but it's
I
not
think it's
the-
an under recovery and an under rest thing for a lot of people.
Sleep
Or maybe they're
intake,
doing
oh.
too much, or their sleep isn't good, or their diet is, they say their diet is good, but they're really only eating, like 3 meals a day kind of thing. Like, how many people do you get come to you and say, well, how do I put on weight? I eat so much.
And they
And
are
tell
eating
you what they
three
eat, and it's like,
three
well,
times
you had
a
like 10
day.
grams of protein for breakfast, like I have a slice of toast and a coffee, and
This was it. It's
Yeah.
also like with the intensity on the training. Until
Yeah.
you don't count it, you don't really know what's happening on your
Yeah,
body.
I-
You have to
you have
somehow
to
check it.
really put it all to paper and make sure it is what
Yes.
it's supposed to be, right? So I think I would just dissect into the basics. I keep things really, really basic, because I think bodybuilding is very simple and basic, to be honest.
Yes,
So
I also
I
think
think
that
that's
way.
kind of what I would look at, and just ask them to be truthful with themselves if they're actually checking those boxes, or if they're just showing up.
Because they
Right.
literally, I was in that situation, and a real amount of people are, if it's not working, they're looking like so many details. Oh shit, I have to isolate it more. I have to, no. Basics, basic stuff. They are not doing that stuff,
No.
but they want to I don't know, use better machine, better
Yeah.
equipment. But they don't stick to diet. They are drinking every week, every weekend.
Exactly.
Also, they're, I don't know, smoking, going out, don't stick to the diet. If they want to lose weight, they don't count calories, so they eat like, maybe they stick diet for 5 days, but on the weekend they're on the
Eating
calorie
pizzas and,
intake.
yeah, like they've just completely lost their deficit over one day now, right? You know?
5
So-
days in the mat.
Yeah, washed away, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I think, yeah, I would totally agree with you there. And then also too, like, time. Like, it takes a long time to build a lot of muscle. If you put 5 pounds of meat on this table, You know, that's a
It
lot of
was-
meat,
oh,
right?
yeah.
But like it doesn't just occur in months. Like I think people's perception of how much muscle they can gain in a time period is very skewed at times too, right? You know, not everybody's a genetic freak that can just
Yes.
put on 20 pounds of stage weight in a year, right? Like a couple pounds here and there is a huge gain. You do that over 10 years, well, now you have 20 pounds, right? So sometimes it's just a time thing as well.
I think it's really important to not chase the result, more to chase the whole journey. Because
Yes.
if you would be right now, I don't know, Mr. Olympia 2030, okay, and yeah, well, you won, nice, and like what you have the result, but you didn't have the journey to this Olympia, so you don't feel like it.
Yeah.
And the majority of the whole Olympian winners is the journey.
The journey is the funnest
it's the
part.
funnest,
Even
yeah.
from an amateur to a pro. I mean, even if you don't ever turn pro, the journey is the funnest part. I
Yes.
think so many people rush through it, expecting to get to this certain point, and they don't realize that the route to get there is the funnest point.
Yes. And so
know.
look, like for me, the whole show isn't as nice. It's not the whole prep. This is the best part. The
Yeah.
book, the cut, the posing routines, the moments when you don't want to do it,
Yeah.
but you are still fighting. You like to fight with your
Yeah.
head, and the whole like just competition. It's okay, you pose some, but if you chase just the competition that you will be on stage for 5 minutes, it's not
It's that
fun.
for some people. No,
I would
The
do something else.
The show is like just the showcase, the end goal of the journey.
Yes.
You know, and then it just restarts again, right? So it's if you don't truly love the process and going through it all, I could never fixate on the show. The show isn't the funnest part for
Isn't
me,
the
to be
funnest.
honest. It's the
For me
off
also.
season, it's the dieting, it's the preparation for the
Yeah.
show. You know, it's the moments where you don't want to do something, but you force yourself to. You know, this morning I did my cardio, and I'm like, maybe
How much cardio it was?
30 minutes, you know, this, so
Every day?
we just stepped it up. I was doing 20 on the Stairmaster, and then this week we added 10 minutes of easy cardio. So 20 minutes of stairs and then 10 minutes on the treadmill.
So
and then I
you
do my
woke up
posing.
today?
Yeah, and then I do
30
my
minutes?
posing, my fasted posing for about half an hour after that every day. And this morning when I was
So
on
you are
the-
doing every day mornings
yeah,
posing?
Yeah, and then I do
Okay.
another 30 minutes post training. So I pose for about an hour a day.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's a lot.
Just posing arounds to
Okay.
get the conditioning for
Yes.
posing on stage.
You are doing like the cycles, or
Yeah, I do
you are
five
holding
rounds.
it more?
5 rounds. It's on a timer app, so it times out each pose for a
Mm-hmm.
certain amount of time. And then you go into the next pose, kind of thing. Then you get a little break in between rounds, and you do 5 rounds back to back.
You're starting posing after off season, or you on the off season you're also
In the off season, I do posing as well. I haven't probably been as good with it as I should be, but like over the last couple of years, it's gotten a lot better. But when I start my prep,
prep
I start posing
instantly more.
that 60
Okay.
minutes a day every day.
Oh, shit,
you know,
that's a lot.
non-negotiable
Okay.
kind of thing.
It's also cardio for you.
It is. No, and that's the thing,
Yeah.
right? So it helps me get in shape with doing less cardio. But you know, even this morning today on the step, I'm like, maybe today maybe I'll skip my posing.
Yeah.
I'm feeling pretty tired. And then you just tell yourself, no, you know, like I'm going to do this. I've done
Yes.
it every day. And I always break things down too. It's like, I just have to finish my cardio. I'm not going to worry about my posing after my cardio. I just have to finish this cardio. And then you get done your cardio and it's like, okay, now I can pose. You know, you just
So-
keep doing the things that even if you don't want to do them in the moment, then, you know, I got done my posing and I'm like, okay, that was good. I got it done. Like, I feel good. You
I
know,
feel
would have
good,
felt
yeah,
really
but-
bad if I didn't do that, right? So it's putting in the work and showing up when doing something, even when you might not want to do it. Because I'm like, I want to go in and eat. I'm hungry, you know,
You
but
give like
you'll
really
be hungry for another 25 to 30 minutes and then you get to eat. It's not that big
you
of
will
a deal.
eat. But you give a really nice tip to think about one thing you have to do, not about whole day. You are thinking
Yes.
just about, if you would think about, oh shit, you have, like we were talking before the chat, if you would think all the time about you have 10 more weeks, it would be like exhausting
It
and
would
it would
slog
be
you down.
not.
You know, it's like
Just one thing.
I have so much stuff to do in a day that if I wake up and look at my entire day, I'd just be an anxious mess, you know? So I just like, I do it task by task, meal by meal.
Yes.
You know, okay, I have to do my cardio. I have to do my posing. I have to have meal one.
And focus
Okay, now
on
I
this
have to
on
shower.
100%.
Yeah, and just the one
Yeah.
task at a time. So you don't overload yourself with the day thinking about, oh, I still have to go to Costco before I go home. And it's just like, just one thing at a time. And then, you know, you might have the days where you're so wrecked that it's just like, you know what? I don't have to go wash my car today. My car can stay dirty for another day. That's not a non-negotiable, but I do need chicken breast because I need this
Because
for my
it's-
diet, right?
Is the like you have a goal that's higher, so you can push this away. Like you can wash it on
Yeah.
the other day, but you have to do the grocery
have to
because
do
it's the
that.
most important
Yeah,
for you.
well, without the food, I can't continue my diet, right?
Yeah, so you can do the prep as it should be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just break it down into those small tasks over the day because
really
otherwise
nice
it's just
tip.
so overwhelming to look at it throughout the entire day, right? Just handle what you have to do right now and then take the next task as it comes, kind of thing, you know?
You said about the genetics, and we were talking about the tempo of growing. So, about your experience with many clients, with your own journey in bodybuilding, and also with people that you are talking here in Maxx Out, how much does genetics really matter? Do you think that hard work actually closed that gap? How, you know, Tom Platz, he said that you can outwork the genetics.
I think in bodybuilding, man, unfortunately, genetics is king. You know,
Genetics is king,
I
yeah.
think that genetics is king. I think that you can still do a lot with, you know, good genetics or, you know, above average genetics, but there are those genetic anomalies like a Phil Heath or, you know, like I have no delusion. Like I'm never gonna look like Phil Heath. You know what I mean? And that's just a different level of genetics, I think. But I do. It's so hard to say because I do think you don't really know your true potential in your genetics, so
Of
you
course.
have to put in the
You
work
have to.
and just see what you're working with. And then I think it kind of comes back full circle to what we talked about before, that you just have to love the journey and the process and just do it because you love it. And where you land is where you land, but also be real with yourself that if you don't like, if you know you have superb genetics, you'll know very fast.
Okay,
You
yeah,
know,
you
you'll
know.
be one of those people who just grows kind of despite everything you're doing. You know, you grow very easily, you get in shape very
Yes.
easily. And I think
You
everybody
maintain,
has
like, the-
different levels of genetics in certain pots. You know, like some people have great genetics for growing, but they might have a hard time getting lean, or maybe they get lean really easy, but they can't grow very easy, or
Yeah.
maybe, you know, their genetics from like a blood marker standpoint are really good. They can handle all the stressors of what bodybuilding inquires,
Also
right?
the
Yeah, you know,
stuff,
so
your-
there's lots of different little kind of pools of genetics, but I do think to be like a top level competitor, yeah, genetics play a huge role in it. And unfortunately, we
have
can't
this
pick who our
genetic.
mom and dad are, so
Yeah.
you're kind of born with what you're given, and I think you have to kind of figure out what, you know, strengths you have and lean into those, right?
Yes.
You know, like if you're a guy who can get really conditioned, lean into that. Show up to shows super conditioned, you know, kind of find your look that's the most advantageous for you and for showcasing your physique, and really focus on that. If you're not a mass monster, like there's no point in trying to show
You
up
can
on
choose
stage
the
as a mass
other-
monster,
yeah.
right? Like
You can just choose also like men's. You can choose the classic. It's
yeah, like yeah, and that
right
too,
now
right?
you have
Like
more variety of it.
yeah,
Like you can
I'm
choose.
never gonna be able to do men's classic or men's physique.
I would like
I'm
to see you on the.
I'm a,
If you would like-
wide-waisted white guy who, you know, like I put on muscle and I.
But your waist is pretty
Yeah,
tight.
no, like
It's-
I'm not.
You know.
I'm not like I don't have a blown out stomach or anything like that. But I mean, like I don't have, you know, like the tiny men's classic, you know,
Yeah.
like a Terrence
You're more
Ruffin
muscle-
wasp
yeah.
waist, right?
You have
So
a photo right
I
here
know
of the last show.
Yeah, I know like what my strengths are, right? And so I'm not trying to make my physique into something that it isn't. I'm just leaning into what
What's-
strengths
yeah.
I have with my physique, kind of thing, right? right? So
How about the waist? You said that. Are you doing something for the waist to keep it tight?
yeah, I mean, like, obviously focusing on foods that don't create like distension and
On
bloating,
the
and on just like
off season.
on off
You're
season and
okay.
on diet as well. And I train core, like 4 to 5 times a week, even in the off
Oh,
season.
are you doing
I do
vacuums or
vacuums as well, kind of thing,
vacuums?
and I do plank work as well. So I'm trying to kind of always remember to like hold your stomach in. If you feel it hitting your shirt, pull it
Think
in
about
and
it.
keep it in. Yeah, like
Okay,
be
yeah.
conscious of it. It's obviously something that's become a lot more highlighted now, over the last however many years. It's very
It's
sought after. So it's something that you have to keep in check, you know. Um, so I think it's important for everyone to do ab control and ab training and vacuums and things like that
I have
to
to
help
think
themselves
about it
out.
because
Yeah.
I'm doing like one exercise. I'm doing vacuums and one exercise
Yeah.
of stomach
I'll generally do like one core exercise on my training days
on
kind of
every
thing. Yeah, on
training.
every training day I'll pick one ab workout and
Okay,
do that
yeah.
for 4 to 5 sets and you know,
So let's talk about. So, like you said, the genetics is like a huge, huge, huge role, and
I think
it's
so,
you
yeah.
can't. But always you can think about, in my opinion, about just maximizing it.
Yep.
Like just if someone said, "No, you don't have potential for the bodybuilding," but how do you know?
How do you know
You
until
don't
you
know
put
it.
in an
Yeah,
extended amount of time doing it,
let's try and see. Of course,
If someone might have said that to me when I was younger. I was always a very
there was
small kid and struggled to put on weight and if I would have took their advice, maybe I wouldn't have chased it, right?
and
I
right
mean,
now
there's how many pro bodybuilders you can look at that, like their starting pictures, like a Nick
Sibam
Walker,
Chris
or
before
like
the
it's like, oh, he doesn't look like he could be,
Nick Walker also,
where he
yeah,
is
his
now,
first
right? And it's
competition,
his first
yes,
competition photo to
yeah,
now. It's like no one would have told him he
yeah.
was gonna win an Arnold or place top 3 in Olympia. You know what I mean? So you really don't know until you try.
Okay, so let's talk about the place because you built this gym. Firstly,
Yep.
you built it with Mel,
Yeah,
or
me and Mel
okay?
built this
First of
gym
all, it
together.
was for you and for friends to work out.
Yeah, kind of. Like basically what happened was I was just looking for some equipment to kind of put in like a garage gym or
Firstly, you
like an
wanted to do.
acreage gym for my own self kind of thing. And then a good friend of mine linked me up with a guy who was basically selling off his gym. And I was just like, yeah, put me in touch with him. Maybe I'll buy a couple pieces. And then we got talking over the phone. He's like, I have this. I'm like, oh, do you have that? And he's like, yeah. And then you got this, and yeah, and I got that. And then next thing I know, it was like 2 52-foot trailers full of equipment that I had just purchased. And I'm like, well, that's a little bit more than I can fit in my garage. So
It
I
was
had to come
mainly,
up.
firstly, you were storage it on your garage.
I
Yeah,
was just gonna put it in like my garage to like start buying a piece here and there
yeah.
to like have a cool home gym. But it became way too much equipment for that. And I was like, well, I have to find somewhere to put this and do something with it. So we came up with this concept of opening a small private gym.
It was
Very low overhead. It was just the one side. And our whole premise was let's just make it very low overhead so it doesn't cost us a ton of money. If it doesn't work out, it'll be a very expensive gym
yeah.
membership for us to have, but it won't bankrupt us and we'll be okay. And, we'll have friends train there and we'll figure it out. We'll make it work. Let's take a shot and take a risk. And then we ended up, kind of getting it set up and we filled the rest of the gym with equipment that we needed from another gym in town here that was going, closing. A
It
place
was
that
the
I had been
golds
training.
or
All the original stuff came from Golds, and then all the
everything
Atlantis
yellow
stuff,
is from
all the
gold.
gold stuff
Yeah,
is
I
yellow, yeah.
like okay.
And then all like the white Atlantis and the
Atlantis.
dumbbells and the 8-stack and everything came from a local gym in town here that I had trained at for a very long time.
Oh, so they closed it?
Yeah, they were
or
closing like
changed?
right around the time when we were planning to open here, so it worked
Okay.
out perfectly. So we were able to kind of finalize everything and get what we needed to start and have kind of like a good setup to be able to provide everything that was needed essentially for what we wanted to do with it.
Firstly, it was like the just a half.
Just the
Like
half
I
of
was
this,
watching
yeah.
on a mass
Yeah, it was
on a
about
mission.
3,000 square feet.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was very packed with equipment. Everything was very tight.
And it
Banging
was
your
like
shins on stuff.
Pretty much everything was on the
A good amount, not everything, because we
everything.
brought in some pieces in. We had
New
stuff
ones.
in storage, and we expanded. When we expanded, we bought more.
Mm-hmm.
But there was a lot of what was in spread out through the gym in
I
that
saw
one
it,
side.
how
Yeah,
it was looking. It's
it was
really
very,
tight.
very tight. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it was very, very tight. So
So every equipment you brought here, you brought it for a reason.
Yes.
So what role does equipment quality actually play in how a muscle develops? Let's say we have someone with the genetics, okay, but what role is in the equipment that he's working on, in your opinion?
That's a tough one, man, because like you've seen some of the greatest physiques ever be built on very
Just
like
dumbbells and-
basics and like
Yeah.
I mean like look at Metroflex in like Arlington where Ronnie trained. You know, it's
Yeah.
like barbells and old machines and dumbbells and. But I definitely think like equipment and engineering has come a long way.
Yes, right now you
So-
can like here you have the best machines in the world.
Yeah,
I think
you know.
the best pieces, and you can truly like, even if you don't have these genetics, you can really stimulate the muscle when you.
I think there's something to making it more proficient and making it maybe a little bit safer for
Okay.
some people. Maybe you can avoid injury a little bit more by being able to load a machine that actually has a good strength curve and actually applies, you know, the intended load to the muscle you're training. I train almost solely on machines now, where like
You
I
don't
used to do a
need it.
ton of free weights.
But
and-
you were like first, I would say, how many years you were lifting like I don't know 60% on the free weights? How many years?
Oh man, probably like the first 10 years kind of thing.
10
you know?
years.
Yeah. I mean, I also started training when I was like 12, right? For like
Okay.
football and things like that. So it was a lot of like flat benching, you know, squatting,
Just
deadlifting,
normal, yeah.
dumbbell
Power
presses, like barbell curls, dumbbell curls, like things like that, right? But I mean, you know, like legs now, like I get a way better leg workout on
On
the leg
machines, yeah.
machines that we have, and like I don't put a bar on my back anymore. You know, I'll use a hack squat or a pendulum squat or you know some form of a leg press, right? Like
You don't need it. You have to stimulate the muscle. If you are power lifter, you have to do these free
yeah,
exercises.
It's a
but
different
you
world,
have to
right?
just stimulate it.
And you know, like knock on wood, but like I've had far less injuries ever since switching
you
over
had
to
some
main
injuries on
machines.
the-
Yeah, you know, like I've dinged up my shoulders a bit and like
okay.
messed up my lower back and things like that. Whereas now, like, and it wouldn't be like from like a pressing movement, it'd be like from like kicking up a 150-pound dumbbell. It's like you
Yeah.
just strain your shoulder, right? Where
and you already lose the energy that we're talking about.
now I can just slide into a hammer machine or
Yeah.
an Atlantis press and just go, right?
Just go,
so
yeah.
I really like machines, and I think like that they are very beneficial for people. I do think like
We
know,
see that
people
you
should
like
develop
machines.
a base. Yeah, yeah, and I'm a bit of an equipment nerd, so like
We
I
see
like
that.
machines, and I like to try out new machines, and if I really like a piece, then I'll bring it into the gym. If I think it'll be beneficial for me or for my
Yeah.
members, then it's a piece that I want to have. So, you know, like I've kind of had a rule where I have to train on a machine before we bring it into the gym. I won't bring something in blindly.
So now, firstly you try it.
Yeah, I will never buy something if I've never used it. If
Yeah.
I don't like it and I don't like the movement pattern and how it loads, and
Just don't buy
I
it.
won't just buy it because it's like, oh, that's a cool machine that's hot on Instagram or TikTok, right?
No,
Like
just
I have to use it first so I know that I like it and that I know that it'll fit well in our space.
So to be useful or
Yeah, well, and like, you know, we don't have 20,000 square feet of floor space here either. We have 6,100,
Like
which is
you-
enough, but like I can't have a machine that's just a water bottle holder.
you like the variety of machines. Like
Yeah.
in Maxx Out, you don't have like I don't know 10 benches. You have one bench press.
Yeah.
You have one cable fly. Like you have the hammer strength push session. You don't have two the same.
Yeah.
Everything is a little
Yeah,
bit
there's
different.
a couple like you know we've got different movement patterns for different
yes.
machines, right? And different brands provide different movement patterns, and you know it's kind of you have at least one of everything and
One of everything,
multiples
yeah.
of you know like yeah you have two inclines, but like One's a hammer incline, the other's an Atlantis incline, right? You've got
it's
a
different.
hammer shoulder
Primes.
press and an Atlantis shoulder press, right? So
Primes that you can change. You don't need very varieties of the types of machines, because I didn't know that on the Prime you can choose
Change
where
strength
in the
curve.
hardest.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
and then when you go to the leg side, like we have 2 different hack squats, you know, we have
leg presses.
yeah,
also
we have a
different.
bunch of different leg press variations, but they're all a little different. They're all a little
Yes.
unique, right? Like we have a hip press. We have like the traditional 45-degree Cybex linear Mach
also.
1. You know, we've got the squat press, which is its own unique feel. We've got the Nebula press there, which is like a 35 linear. So, you know, like we've got a pendulum squat. We've got a belt
It's on
squat.
this
Yeah.
side,
And, you know, we've
close
got-
to washrooms. Yeah?
Yeah,
The pendulum.
yeah.
Okay.
And then,
yeah.
you know, like we've got the Rogers Pro squat. And so there's a bunch of different like squat variations and leg press variations, but it's not like you have 4 of the same leg press, like at a commercial
Yes.
health club, right?
Like normal clubs have
Yeah.
the bench press, 8 bench press, and every is shitty. Like,
Yeah, everything's just the same, right? It's
Yeah.
all the same brand. Whereas here you've got, you know, a variety of different brands because every brand brings their own unique kind of feel and vibe to machines. So
Yes.
yeah,
Let's say about we were talking about the machines and how to stimulate the muscle. The more popular bodybuilding and training is, the more unique machines they're doing to stimulate it better. And now people are training in pretty extreme ranges of motion, just to stretch the muscle more, like to activate one of the 12 lat movements. So what's your take on that? How far should someone actually chase this isolation?
I think the overemphasis of range of motion has become a little bit ridiculous at times.
Yes. Yes.
I do think like you want to work in full ranges of motion and you want to make sure that you're loading the muscle through a full range. But I also see that there are benefits to working in like a partial range, maybe towards the end of a set.
1.5 movements. it's
Yeah, you know,
really
like
nice.
or like on the lateral, you know, you do a full set of full range, and then like when you're failing, you bang out some partials at the end to really fry it off.
It's more volume. It's
Yeah,
like method.
it's just
It's
kind of
method,
like
yeah.
emptying it and like making sure you're hitting full failure, right? I think like you want to keep in a range where you can keep contraction on the muscle and keep tension on. Like I see some people coming into such a deep range that now it's transferring off their chest and into
Yeah.
their shoulder and then back into the chest.
You
So
are
it's like you're
using
kind of
different
losing your
muscle.
range almost,
Yeah.
right?
And also you lose like the not really energy but force you
Mm-hmm.
can develop, because when you start in moving your body, it's more muscle activation, other muscles,
Yep.
and you lose energy because they have to activate.
Yeah. And I mean,
When
I
you are
think-
doing, I don't know, maybe this lot of
Yeah,
it's
just-
more stretch,
you're-
but also you using like this muscle don't really work this hard as you think.
and also like it's pretty simple, right? It's load and tension
Yes.
and range of motion. You don't have to really go over like and like try to find these added ranges,
Yeah.
right? You know, and if you can keep a muscle under tension and you can load the muscle, that's the goal,
That's the goal, yeah.
right? So
Also, when you are more advanced, you can really feel this muscle more.
yeah,
Really. Right now, I don't know, you will do just a warm up for the lats, and you, like, I would say you would do 10 repetitions with 45 pounds, right? I don't know, for some back movement, and you will feel it already.
yeah,
Really
100%,
much.
100%, yeah.
So you have to also train this amount of time to feel this muscle. You don't have to chase it when you started training. You then don't have to isolate it on the 100% when you are starting your journey.
Yeah, 100%.
You don't need those
And
machines.
I
really.
think people are just like focusing so much on like the mind to muscle connection and the
Mm-hmm.
squeeze, and they're forgetting that like you have to load a muscle. I mean, yeah, like obviously there's a point where you're overloading and now you're losing that connection
Yes.
to it. But like you're not going to grow lats squeezing a 10-pound, plate on a single arm, row, right? Like you have to load the muscle. So
You have to put some
yeah,
weights.
you have to put some weights into it. You want to be able to control the weights and feel what you're doing. Like bodybuilding is not weightlifting,
Yes.
right? It's training the muscle under load and tension.
Intense, close to failure, of
feeling it,
course.
taking a weight and being able to like precisely move that weight into the muscle that you're trying to train. But the searching for like overemphasis of range is just, it's gotten a little crazy.
But
for sure.
also the people that are talking about it, we don't really look.
No, and
They-
you also have to remember too, like people are trying to sell you their systems. There's a lot of
methods,
salesmanship happening these days
Of
as
course,
well. Everyone
yeah,
has
like
a
the-
system or a program they're selling, right? So,
Oh, you have to do it this way, and then your muscle gonna blow up.
Yeah.
So how do you think? What people right now, that something people obsess over that in your experience matter way less than they think, that it's a waste of time that could be used for better things to build really that muscle.
I think like kind of what we'd said before, like picking exercises that are actually going to be beneficial for you.
Okay.
Depending on your goal, right? Like if your goal is to build the most amount of muscle tissue possible, like everybody likes to do walking lunges, right? And walking lunges is a great exercise, and it's maybe an exercise that's good for like building grit or like burning out your legs. But if I had to give you like 3 exercises to build your legs with, are you going to pick walking lunges as one of them?
No.
Because although it's a great exercise, how much load can you really load through the muscle? Unless you're Hadi Chupin doing 405-pound walking barbell lunges, like take Ronnie and Hadi Chupin out of the equation, right? I'd probably say like some form of a squat variation, some type of leg press, and
Leg press for
maybe
me
like a
also very
Bulgarian or a leg extension or something that you can load and put under a lot of tension is going to be a bigger bang for your buck exercise, right? So I just see a lot of people doing things that I feel like is a waste of their energy and doesn't align with what their actual goal set is, or maybe doing an exercise that like the muscle doesn't really work in that manner. So like even though you're feeling like you're getting a great pump from it, it's not really creating stimulus, right?
Do you think the pump, we should chase the pump in your opinion? Because do you really think it's the point that is important for building muscle? The pump.
I don't personally.
Yeah.
But I don't. I
also.
don't personally. But I do think like a pump does feel great, and it does let you know that you're targeting the muscle that you're trying to train. So I think like a pump is a byproduct of good training in a sense. Like
Yes.
if you're connecting with your muscle and you're loading it effectively, I think you're going to get a pump. As long as you're hydrated and you have proper electrolytes and your nutrition is where it needs to be, for the most part, maybe given you're not running 0-gram carb days on prep,
On prep.
and
it's really
even then
harder.
still like I can get a good pump with, enough hydration and sodium.
So
it
you
might
think
not
the-
stay, but it'll get a pump.
But you will get. So do you think the pump is because of if you don't have a pump, you can have a problem with the potassium?
Partially,
with-
yeah.
Okay.
But like if I was gonna say like I can grow my arms if I get a pump, well, I mean I could give you a can of beans and you could curl it 1,000 times with a pump in your arms. Do you think your arms are gonna grow? Probably not, right? So like I think you can acquire a pump without creating any like breakdown of muscle tissue and stimulus. So I don't think pump equals growth.
So
But
we
I think if
should
you
not
load a
really
muscle-
chase it
Yeah,
as much.
I wouldn't
as,
chase it as much. Maybe there are certain body parts that respond better to a pump, like shoulders. I like to load them and do my progressive work with them, but I also like to make sure they're blown up and pumped. So that's where like
Lower
maybe some
the-
partials on the lateral come into play, or You know, like I don't want to train arms and not feel like I got a pump in my arms.
It would be pretty strange to not feel by when you are doing
Yeah.
some curls.
But that being said, like I can't say I've ever left a workout in the last 10 years without having a pump in all the muscles that I train.
Okay.
Like, and not going for the fact of chasing a pump in my back, but like my back is absolutely blown up and feels
Yeah,
huge
you're
and
feeling
pumped
it.
towards the end of a workout or even after the first few sets. Like, same thing with my chest or my shoulders or my quads or my hamstrings. Like, they always are pumped.
But you are more advanced.
Yeah.
Like I think it's more important to not chase a pump, like we said,
I
for
think so.
people less advanced. Because if you are less advanced, you don't really feel your muscles as we are.
And that's, you know, you have to acquire that mind to muscle connection and learn how to move weights proficiently.
Think about how if you don't feel this muscle, take those 5 minutes to learn how it works.
Yeah.
The anatomy, the basics,
And
really.
Some people will be like, well, I don't really feel my muscle. And it's like, well, you don't really have a lot of muscle yet to feel either.
Oh, okay,
right?
yeah.
Like, you know, you'll get those people who are very, very new at training and they just don't have a lot of muscle tissue.
Yes.
I can't really feel my back.
But
It's like, well, you don't really have a back. You know, unfortunately,
Oh,
like
yeah.
that's just, you have to build more muscle. The more muscle you build, the more contractile
You can
force you're
feel
going to
it.
have, the more you're going to feel that muscle contract.
because
right?
there's
So,
more blood, more everything in it.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
100%.
Okay. So with the internet, now everyone, even the people that are just starting their journey, they have access to techniques or tips, like we said, that used to be for only the advanced lifters. And those tips were really important from the coaches for that lifters. So how do you think what that access actually do for the beginners right now, that they can take this?
Oh man, I think it's so easy now compared to what it used to be as far as like,
How you started it?
yeah, like, you know, like I grew up, it was like magazines and forums, right? And there was a lot of internet voodoo of just like madness and mayhem online, right? I also think there's maybe a little bit too much overload of information at times where, you know, nowadays people have so much thrown at them that they can have a really good program and then they see so and so
Better one.
doing this and their program's really good too. And they're like, well, I'm going to do this. And just like every week they're constantly changing something where I think like you have to sit and marinate in a program for quite a while
Yeah.
until you switch it out, right? Like I think that the amount of, you know, valuable information that we have is really good. And I think it's very easy to get really good information and be able to use that and utilize it. I just think people's,
Constant changes.
yeah,
And
people just like don't have an attention span to stick with something
Yes.
for long enough to give it an honest go. And they start to second guess. They see someone doing something else and it's like, well, hold on, like, is what you're doing working? Because if it's working, don't change it, right? Like wait until you need to change something and then maybe try this what this person's doing, right? So
I think even right now, people will have less gains because of that informations. Like you said, they are changing everything in a few weeks.
yeah,
And like the first 4 weeks, let's say, it's just your neurons, your
Yeah.
neuron system
Yeah.
adaptation and your body to the exercise.
Yeah.
And when you will change it, your body needs to, like, once again, it needs to needs to adapt to it one more time.
yeah.
So if you are changing it, you're not really getting the stimulus for the hypertrophy.
No, you're just
So-
changing it before you're actually
Yes.
getting what you're paying into, right? So I think people need to just slow down and remember this is basic. Just keep doing it and give it an allotted period of time. You know, give it 6 months. If you haven't seen anything change in 6 months, okay, maybe look into it and change something.
So
But
6 months would be for you like the
you
period
know,
of
like that 4 to 6 months kind of thing. If you're not
Yeah.
seeing something, then and then also like, you know, you're not going to see 20 pounds gained, right? Like, but are you getting stronger? You know, is your look changing, right? Like these things, you know, just not being so impatient to jump to something new. I mean, we all, like, even myself as an advanced lifter, like I'll see something, oh, that looks really
I
good.
would
Or
like to.
the thing is too, is like you'll hear someone say something and it's like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Or yeah, that's right. But
Okay.
it's not what I'm doing. And it's like, but that's okay. You know what I mean? And maybe I'll store it in the memory bank for later and be like,
For
"Oh,
some
if I run
days."
into like a sticking point, maybe I can implement that.
Okay,
You
yeah.
know, but I'm not going to totally retool my whole program and my training philosophy and go from low volume hit style to I'm going to do high volume.
Let's change it right now
100
with the
sets
high.
for biceps over the
Yes.
week from 12 because you know I think this is going to work. It's like I think everything works. It's just are you
Nowadays,
applying yourself to it, right?
Yes.
And certain things work better for certain people. Like I have found lower volume works better for me.
For me, yeah.
You
For
know?
for
So
you, yeah.
for me, it works better. For other people, not so much. So it's just, you know, sticking to something and giving it the actual due diligence to see it flourish. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's really important right now, like you said, to stick with something and then try to change it. Because also, when you are more advanced, you have some knowledge. And you know, okay, you have like you can choose what you want to to use. But when you are starting, you don't know nothing and you are changing everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not one thing, you are changing everything. And when
Everything.
you don't have gains, you are changing 5 things on the same time. You don't know which one works right now.
Yeah.
So would you change like the one thing when
I
it's
would
nothing
change
working?
one thing at a time.
Okay.
You know, I'd change one thing at a time, run it for a bit, see what happens. Nothing changed. Okay. Let's change something else. It's a different variable.
Yeah.
Right? You don't want to just change 5 things at once and then not know what it brought the change, right?
Yeah. And you are on the same spot. You changed 5 things, something is working, but you don't know which
You don't
of
know
these
which made the
things.
change,
Yeah.
right?
When you change one thing, okay, after 1 month you see, okay, it's working. So now that's good for me.
Yep.
Yeah. So I'm gonna stick on this one, but something still not working, change the one more,
Yep.
maybe.
Yep.
Second thing, if this one is working.
If this one is
Yeah.
working. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, no, 100%.
Okay, so that's everything.
That's everything.
I'm really thank you for this.
No,
Also,
no, thank
I would
you,
like
sir.
to ask. Dorian was the first one. Of your like the
Influences and like that I
yeah
looked
when
up to.
well,
So-
your star that you were chasing, the first one you saw.
The first
First
bodybuilder that I
Yes,
saw,
yes.
honestly, probably would have been Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Arnold.
You know, I
before.
watched Conan as a young kid, and I grew up watching Terminator and Predator.
Ah,
and
okay.
we had a very close family friend who actually grew up with Arnold. They were in the military
Oh,
together.
okay.
He himself competed in the Mr. Universe contest. So I spent a lot of time with them. They were from Austria. You know, my dad and all of his friends were powerlifters and bodybuilders. So I grew up kind of in that kind
Okay.
of world. So it was probably
Arnold was
Arnold and like
first.
my dad and like my
Oh,
dad's
okay,
friend
awesome.
group, you know what I mean? And then
They take
yeah, and
took
that
you
would have
to
been
this
kind of like
environment.
in as a young child, like growing up around that.
Because you
that
were
would have
12
been-
when you were starting.
Yeah,
like,
well, this would have
working
even
for
been when
the
I was
football.
like 6 years old, right?
Oh,
like
so it
watching
was-
these old
oh.
movies and always wanting to be muscular.
You
and then
already
I
had
started
that-
playing
Mhm.
football and always needed to add weight and get bigger. And then I got, you know, I've had my first magazine subscription when I was in like grade 8 for like Flex magazine.
Yeah.
So, you know, like Ronnie, Jay, Dexter,
And
those
then
guys.
it all
And
started.
then from there, Flex Lewis came on the scene kind
Mm-hmm.
of right when I was getting done football. And I'm like, hey, like he's a shorter guy like me. I really like that physique. So I was, you know, really looked up to Flex and like his physique and what he had done.
Flex Wheeler, yeah?
Flex Lewis. Flex
Flex
Lewis
Lewis,
from Wales.
oh.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the
I don't know
212,
this
212 bodybuilder. He won the Mr.
Oh,
He won the
212.
212
They look
Olympia
really
7
incredible.
times. And then so like emulating kind of Flex and then Flex and Dorian, essentially.
Flex,
and
Dorian.
then I got into Dorian and read all of Dorian's training and books, and used to watch Blood and Guts every day before I go
Blood
train.
and Guts, that's right.
You know, so Dorian was a huge influence for sure. They kind of came about the same time, Dorian and Flex, and then really connected with like that mindset of Dorian Yates. And
For me, same. Like Dorian about the training intensity and the mindset that
The
he
mindset
had,
was a huge
because
one
he
for me.
was on the UK. He always say that they're on the Los Angeles, Las Vegas. They are working on the hot sun. He's trudging to the snow.
yeah,
Like
and that exact quote has been something that's really resonated with me. Living here in Saskatchewan, like
On the
you're here
winter,
in
it's-
summer. It's beautiful here in summer, man, but like our winters are like minus 40
-40,
to minus 50,
yeah.
you know. So I think about the guys out on the West Coast, you know, driving around like in nice weather all year,
year.
and you know, like
and you are
and
trudging
I'm
to the
here
snow.
in the trudging through the snow just to get to my gym.
Yeah.
Like there's literally days where vehicles can't even drive, and I have a big truck so I can get down here. And just that kind of blue collar, hardcore mindset of just grit and work. And
That's
it
real.
kind of relates back to, you know, playing football and like having a goal and just pushing yourself to limits that,
Limits.
you know, it's a mental thing, right? I think football really laid a lot of fundamentals from a mental standpoint for me that I applied into bodybuilding.
So it was a little bit easier to start the bodybuilding.
Yeah,
because
for sure.
You didn't like learn it on the bodybuilding side. You learned like the sticking to something.
Yeah, I learned how to
more.
like set
It was on the
goals
football.
and how to like push my body really hard to extremes, like with, you know, practicing and pushing yourself past your limits from a training standpoint for football, right? And
Yeah.
and for prepping for football games and things like that, and the seasons. That was easy to kind of take that mindset and apply it to bodybuilding. Learning how to train and push yourself, right? Where
Yeah.
I think a lot of people struggle to come in the gym and like get gritty and like actually push themselves like through those points of pain, or where like their brain's telling them to stop, and it's just like it's
You
like
have to
running
push more.
it's like running the field, you know, like in ladders where your coach is just running you back and forth, and you feel like your lungs are bleeding and you're gonna die.
But you are
And you just keep going and you keep going because you know that like this is just making me better and making me a better athlete.
yeah
So I already kind of had that
mindset.
worked out of myself and my mindset that when I came into the gym, it's like, well, this is just training. I'm just pushing myself. And
Yeah.
I've just always really liked to train.
Yeah.
You know, I've always liked to push my body and be able to see what it was capable of. And so it was a very easy transition from that standpoint. So I think football really
It's-
taught me a lot that I could apply to bodybuilding in that sense. Yeah.
Also, I'm a big fan of when I think every leg workouts for past 3 years, there was some quote or some words from Tom Platz.
Yeah. Yeah. Tom Platz is a maniac, right? Like he's another one who,
But his
the mindset,
workouts,
right?
that he didn't have any contusions or the problems
Yeah.
after that.
I don't know how Tom
I
survived
don't.
that,
Yeah,
man.
I think that's the genetics
I think
for
so.
not to fuck his body.
Yeah, for not getting injured.
Yes.
Yeah, he probably has like tendons that are like 3 times thicker than the normal human being. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's where genetics comes into it.
That
Maybe
it was genetics for this.
from a recovery standpoint as
Yes.
well, to be able to like recover from those insane workouts. You know,
Also mindset, I think.
mindset's a huge one
to
too.
push more.
I think mindset is a genetic thing as well. You know, some people have that relentless drive in them, that dog. You know,
Brad.
that.
Sorry, Branch Warren.
You'll see them, yeah. You'll see people in the gym who just like they can't take a set till failure, and then you see the guys who are just like absolutely will die in a hack squat. You know what I mean? And I think
All the
that's
Bulgarians
something
play
you
it.
either have that or you don't. And I think
Yeah.
you can build upon it and make it more intense and be able to dig deeper. But some people just don't have that grit in them. And
Yeah.
that's the one thing I've really noticed through being in the gyms all these years is you can come in, you can see a guy who's got that. You know, and I
Yeah.
think that's a huge component.
Genetics for the pain also,
Yeah,
how much you can
for
take.
sure, how much you can
or-
endure and push yourself through, right?
Yeah.
So yeah.
Okay,
totally,
so
man.
one more time, Morgan from Maxx Out Muscle. It was
Awesome.
pleasure.
Thank you, brother. It's been
Thank
a
you
pleasure
very
having you
much.
in the gym this month.